what I got here is I got different configurations of labs to nanos. We have 4 to 2, 5 to 2, 6 to 2, 6 to 2 again, 7 to 2, another 7 to 2 configuration. We have 8 to 2, another 8 to 2 configuration, 9 to 2, 10 to 2, and another 10 to 2 configuration. And we also have an 8 to 2 kind of off to the side. So let's just give these a test here and see how these do. I also was going to try one stagger just to see if that made a difference. There we go. We're just testing this one to see if it makes a difference to have them come out at a different time. That's what we want. We want it to kind of go left, right, left, right. That should have been roughly 2 minutes. Okay, so let's just go over these numbers real quick. 4 and 2, we had 84. Other 4 and 2, we had 83. Yeah, same, about the same. We had 106. 6 and 2, we had 124. And then this one we had 100. So this configuration was vastly superior with 124 to this one, which had only 100. So just to know, configuration really matters. 7 and 2, we had 124. And I think we're going to have 124 for all of the rest of them here. 7 to another 124, 124. With the 8, we had 124. This one we had 125. 9 and 2, we got to 125. And 10 and 2, we get to 130. Odd that 10 and 2 gets up to 130. So there's a little bit of a benefit from the 10th. It kind of sees that and helps for some reason with the derping. 128 for the other 10 and 2. And yeah, we basically had the same number, stagger or not. Let's go over the results real quick. So basically when you have 4 nanos and 2 labs, we need more nano power per lab. So we are maxing out. We're actually paying a little extra for that. In this case, the best case was the 6 and 2. You had 6 nanos and 2 labs. And then when you went to 7-2, you got very little extra from that 7th nano. So 6 nano seems to be the maximum, like the peak efficiency for these tests. So we're going to look into that a little further on phase 2 of the test. So that's part 1 of the test. Now I wanted to follow up. So we kind of found out the golden ratio is 3 to 1. Now following up the test, I'm going to try adjusting these configurations a little bit. And we're going to try some modifications here. Basically the 4 to 2 wasn't really that good. We weren't getting enough build power. So we'll like get rid of this one. This doesn't really matter. We have 5 to this, and also this one, these higher turret counts didn't seem to matter either. I wanted to try a different kind of configuration here as well. I just want to see if how that affects things as well. This is kind of our best test case, and I want to keep this one to showcase how bad this similar configuration is. Of the best case, let's try some other cases here. We'll do the 3 to 6 like this. We'll do another one like maybe here. Let's adjust this a little bit like that. This is identical to that, so that doesn't do us any good. Some people had asked, well, what happens if you put the build power on the edge so the turrets don't have to turn as much? I don't think that has helped. We could try like this and just kind of, this is a little weird test case. We can put it here. This is the original best. This was kind of like this, similar. I guess we could throw in this test case up here and just see if it consistently still stinks. That's this test case again. All right, and then we kind of found that with the 7 to 2, things didn't really get better. They actually got a little worse. So we're not going to go to the 8 and 2. We'll do the 7 and 2, but we won't do the 8 and 2. Then we'll do a 7 and 2 where there's a hole in the middle. The 8 and 2 just was a drop off, so we're going to skip the 8 and 2. I guess like of the 7 and 2 configurations, we can try a couple things just to see if that helps any. Like, oh, we're getting to the point that this could actually hit the other labs. So we're going to have to offset everything to keep it nice and out of range. We don't want any labs in the circles. So this right here offsets. We want to do another test case here. We're going to have to pull everything down. Just for interest's sake, we'll do 7 like this. Just to see if this makes a difference. If we just... Kind of, this might be something you might see in a game. Just like 7 to 2 like that. So 7 to 2, 7 to 2, and 7 to 2 like this. And then I think we're not going to test the 8 to 2s because it seems like we're just overdoing the build power at that point. So instead of 8 to 2s, let's start doing some more lab. So let's copy all this, and we're going to start phase 2. Phase 2, we're going to just test some more configurations of the 4 to 2, 5 to 2, 6 to 2, 7 to 2. We'll just do those 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so let's get started. We did like 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Let's see what these numbers are looking like. So we have 84, 107, 109. Okay, so right here, this configuration was 107. And this configuration was 109. So just so we know, 109. And then on the 6 to 2, we had 126. Let's see if anything did better. 126. Over here, we have 100. That is really huge how bad the other one did. Let's actually do it like this next time. So the blob will be a little better, more manageable, like that. If you look here, this one's 6 to 2. We got 126, but when we made it centered, we lost a lot. So 100. Lost 26 due to weird turret derping. And then this one here had the same kind of configuration. The same 6 nanos. What do we have here? 126. So 126, 100, and 126. And 100 again. Wow. Okay, so basically the symmetric stuff kind of breaks. So you got to be real careful not to do these symmetric layers on the 6 to 2. But we get 126, so we'll put that in there for 62. And now we'll do 7 to 2. 7, 2. We have 126, 126, and 126. So 7 to 2, 126. All right, so it just starts getting a little worse as we get into more nanos. So far, the best was the 6 to 2. And that was basically it for that test. Let's just bring the results up real quick. Here's just the results I was talking about. We have the 4 to 2, where we had the worst efficiency at the 23. So 4 to 2, 84 ticks, 23 per tick. 5 to 2 was 20.6, and 6 to 2 was 19.87. So 6 to 2 was the optimal. Now we're going to test some larger arrays. That's our new gold standard, is this 6 to 2 right here. So we'll keep this to normalize our results. And then we'll start trying some new stuff here. This is the benchmark 6 to 2, which was our most optimal configuration. And then we have 8 to 3, 8 to 3, 8 to 3. We have 9 to 3, another 9 to 3, and over here we have 10 to 3 and another 10 to 3, just to see if these make a difference here. So let's run another 2-minute test. Let's get started. All right, there we go. We put it on a wait now. Let's see how that goes. So this is our normalized case with 6 nano 2 lab, and we had 117. This one we had 8 nanos and 3 labs, which is a little less nano per lab, and we had 149, 142, and 142. So 149, this was the best configuration with the nanos kind of offset like that. And we got an extra like 7 grunts. So 149 for the 8 nano and 3 lab. We had 149. For the 9 nano 3 lab, which is the golden ratio, same 3 to 1 ratio here, we had 160 or 141. So look at the difference, 20 grunts from this shape here versus this shape here. So really important that you had 2 nanos on the outside, or else the nanos really derp and you miss out on a lot of grunts. And then over here we have 10 nano 3 lab, we have 167, and then here's another 10 nano 3 lab, we have 175. So very important, the configuration there. And if we look at our spreadsheet, the 6.2 was the best, and then following that we had the 10.3 and only 7% more expensive, and then the other configurations were like 9% more expensive. So not really too big of a deal, but it kind of shows that if you're going to 3, the 10 nanos is better for the maximum efficiency if you're trying to make as many grunts as possible, as cheap as possible. So here we have a final kind of another test. Here we have the original nominal 4 lab, 4 nano, 2 lab. Then we have the best case of 3, which was 10 nano, 3 lab. And then we have a couple 4 lab, 12 nano, which we kind of have determined with the bigger stuff we need at least the 12 nano. And then here we have 4 lab with the 13 nano, which kind of should be a little better. Let's just see how this does. So let's just run it for 2 minutes. Here's all the labs. They're all no overlapping in build power. Everyone's ready to go. And let's go. 2 minutes now. Okay, and we'll stop everything here. And let's go through the counting real quick. 6 and 2, 131. 10 and 3, 195. 12 and 4, 243, 238. All right, 12 and 4, 243. That's not that bad. And then that's almost as good as the 10-3. The 10-3 was still a little better than the 12. So oddly enough, as we get bigger, 13 and 4. Let's see how 13 and 4 did. 262. Wow. Okay, I don't know what it is. Sometimes things just go really well. And in this case, that's what happened. So 262. And over here we have 245. So wow, configuration really matters. I can't stress enough how much configuration seems to matter in these test cases. And then for the 12 and 4, we have 238 versus 243. So yep. So this is the test we just did. Again, same normalized is 131. So 6 and 2, 131, 19 per tick. And then 10-3, 195, 20. And then 20.6. And then 13-4 gave us a 20.9. So that configuration there was pretty much the closest, but still not as good as the original 6.2. So realistically, like the labs and isolation is still the best. So just again, this was our best case, this 6 and 2, highest efficiency. And when we got up to this bigger scale, it was best to have it a little more symmetric. 262 versus the less symmetric, which only gave us 245. So 262. This was our second best case. So you could still do this kind of case, leaving a little gap here. Yeah, that's kind of the configuration I would go with. Just for you guys that are purists, I'm going to run one more test because I'm sure you guys are curious to see what happens if we do a stagger start and see if, because this one didn't do as well. Let's stagger start. Like this, control 1. And this can be control 2. So let's do another test. Let's see how this goes. If that causes any effects. It seems like this turret's just not getting to maximum effect here. If you can see here, we're staggering now. It's going out of one lab and then the other lab and then the other lab and then the other lab. So let's just see how much of an effect that has. This one's in perfect stagger by the natural, just the way the turrets were. Anyways, let's go a little more and then let's turn it off. Okay, there we go. Let's stop it all now. All right, test completed. And let's just see how that goes. 230, 219. So 230 versus 219. Okay, maybe this did a little better when we staggered it. You know, we forced it to stagger. So we got 219 versus 230. This is still just better. So this is still the way to do it. Yeah, so that's kind of it.